What is up, guys? Welcome back. Today is a video that I'm squeezing in before leaving for Canada for Complex Union this weekend. For a while now, I've been contemplating, well, not really contemplating. For a while now, I've been meaning to get my 1962 Auto Union 1000 SP that's sitting in my enclosed car trailer, not the 60 here. Yes, the second of one of only a dozen or so known to exist in America. The 62 German market 1000 SP I have in my trailer, I really need to get that sold. And it's not doing anyone any good sitting in my enclosed car trailer. It's taking up space in the car trailer. I have to fill the tires up and push it out when I need the enclosed car trailer for anything. But I don't need it. I bought it because it was coming with a full garage full unobtainium Auto Union parts, the 3-cylinder 2-stroke motor parts, including lots of motors. When I thought I was going to 3-cylinder 2-stroke power this 1000 SP or keep it 3-cylinder 2-stroke power, the plan quickly changed literally within a week of me purchasing the second car to get all the parts and decided to go the beetle pan route. This one sat outside for 40 some odd years, pretty rotted underneath. It is a frame car, but this one's going beetle pan. Might do a cool motor swap at some point in the end. You guys know the deal on this car. But that being said, I've kept all of the aesthetic parts that I wanted to keep for this car, and now my pallet rack in here is just full of the Auto Union parts, and underneath as well. There's motors, there's totes of new old stock parts and old parts, and more motors up top, and then more totes full of stuff. And then over here we've got totes of stuff, and a tote full of oil with 2 crankshafts in it that have been sitting in oil since 1978, which is pretty crazy. But the 1962 is a good restoration candidate. I bought it off of the original owner's son, who owns a body shop in Nashville, and it sat in the corner of his shop, the back corner of his shop, since 1982. He started a restoration on it in the 80s and never finished it. So it's got some body work on the back, and it's been put in primer. Doesn't have a motor in it, but I've got plenty. But it's time to list that for sale with all the parts so I can free up space and free up some money to get back on my 1000 SP project. So we're gonna pull that thing out today, and we're gonna get it on the lift to basically document it for a sale ad. But I'm gonna bring you guys along and show you that car inside and out and talk about my plans for the 1960. All right, next day, ended up lost on a few other projects yesterday. Wanted to pull the 1000 SP out, but did not get to it because I'm working on a lot of merchandise for the Complex Union show this weekend, and we will leave the day after tomorrow. So today's Tuesday now. So today's plan is to get the enclosed trailer pulled out and get the 1000 SP pushed out. And if I can handle it myself, push it out of the trailer and into the shop so we can get it on the lift. We will get the Porsche moved. We'll get the truck hooked onto the trailer. We'll get it pulled out. The yard kind of slopes away, as you may be able to tell. The driveway is quite long and steep. So basically from this seam down is no man's land. Do not get anything that does not run anywhere near there, because it'll be long gone and down in the road. All right, boys, the enclosed trailer has been pulled out for the first time since Import Alliance Atlanta, which was earlier this spring, and man, does it need a wash. While it's out here, we're definitely washing it. Before we start moving things around, we're gonna soak these guys down. All right, guys, here she is yet again, the 1962 1000 SP. All right, guys, can we just take one moment and let us sink in how insane this is? I mean, for me, maybe not for a lot of you guys, but for me, it's insane how crazy rare these cars are, and they're all in one space. The 62 is now in the shop. We're going to get that up on the lift. It's just so crazy to see these two next to each other. I mean, I could go on and on about how wild this is. So yeah, we're going to get it up on the lift. We'll get a look underneath it. I'm going to heavily document it for the sale ad. But we'll get a chance to talk about this car a little bit more and talk about the plans on this thing if you guys are new to the channel. I won't bore you guys to death if you already know what's going on with this thing. But yeah. Going to go through my parts list and figure out what I really want to keep for this car and what I'm willing to let go with that car and what I should let go with this car. The motor out of this car is over here, and I've got plenty of extras and whatnot. So I want to make sure that whoever buys this car gets enough parts to make it a restorable driving car. All right, so before we get it up on the lift, this is what we're working with under the hood. I mean, rust-free. This car sat in the back corner of a body shop since about 1982 until last summer when I pulled it out of that shop. And since then, it stayed in this shop or in my enclosed trailer. So this thing has not sat outside overnight since before I was born. And I was born in 85. So it's pretty crazy how solid and clean this car is. It did get hit in the rear in his shop, and he started some body work that he just never finished, and then that's when he decided he was going to restore the car and start primering it and whatnot. But it is solid. These were a 3-cylinder, 2-stroke, front-wheel drive car, body on frame, early 60s German built. I mean, it's just so crazy. Radiator sits behind the motor. It's front-wheel drive, longitude mounted, which the hood scoop is very vital because that feeds the air right to the radiator. This gave way to Audi. And if you guys are Audi fans, you'll know that the first Audis, like the C1 100s, were longitude mounted front wheel drive cars with inboard front brakes. I mean, they were just, people thought Audi was thinking all sorts of crazy stuff, but really it was a unibody version of what Auto Union was doing before Volkswagen bought Auto Union in 1969 and turned the name into Audi, keeping the 4-ring logo, which was the Auto Union, the 4 companies that built up Auto Union. So this was kind of like the birth of the C1 and the longitude mounted front wheel drive Audis, which is kind of crazy. Pop out side glass, I think that is just the coolest thing ever. The 1960 700 BMW has them as well. Pop out side glass, you just can't get any better. The taillights are Thunderbird taillights, which some of you guys first spotted when I first went to get this car. These are the original 1000 SP taillights. And these should not even be on the car here in the shop. These are so unobtainable because it's only 1000 SP taillight. And they are so rare. I think they only made like 2,000 ever. They're so rare. They should be in a box wrapped in bubble wrap somewhere. So that reminds me, before this episode's done, I'm going to take those things off and get them out of here, because the amount that drawers opening and the amount of stuff that's going on around here, if one of these breaks, it's all over. And I'm going to ultimately put Thunderbird taillights in it. They're not the worst looking taillights. And oddly enough, they're the same size. And the 1000 SP is known as the baby Thunderbird because it resembles a 57 Ford Thunderbird in many ways. But you can see here where the back of the car was hit. From what he told me, it was a 57 Chevy that was on a lift, or about to be put on a lift, that was right behind this car, and accidentally bumped power to the starter, and it was in gear, and it hit the back of the car. So he's like bondoed the back tub here and hasn't finished it, which is really too bad because the rest of the car is just in such great condition. He was able to find a new or really good condition trunk lid, which is incredible, and the stop works great. Would be an amazing restoration candidate or an outlaw car. If I had unlimited time and funds, or even just more time and more funds, the 60, which is going to be the body dropped air suspension beetle panned car, I'd build that as like the hot rod. And then I'd build this one as a stock powered 3-cylinder 2-stroke road racing car. Like as if it was from the 60s. Period correct outlaw car, basically. But I don't have the time and the finances. So this car is for sale. And the interior. If you haven't seen the episode, go back and watch the episode that I detailed this interior. You couldn't even tell that it was red interior. It was so bad. The guy's shop was a body shop, and it sat in the back corner with the windows down since 1982. So can you imagine the amount of body dust that got inside this car? You couldn't even tell that it was red. The headliner is in great shape. I can't even believe the interior of this car. The dash mat is still good. Everything's accounted for. This is just so crazy. The steering wheel's in great shape. You guys are lucky I want to sell this thing because like I wanted to keep so much of this for my car. I wanted to keep the kilometer cluster, the German cluster, and I actually thought for a short time that I was going to interior swap this interior in that car and just keep this car as a parts car. But it's too rare. It really is too rare. I think someone needs to put this back on the road as a restored car, or like I said, as just an outlaw hill climb car or something. All right, so I just went around and took some photos and noting how rust-free the undercarriage of this car is. Sills, door bottoms, just insanely clean. All the body mounts are good. These are the forward-most body mounts. Inner fender, like tins. These are all removable. This is all good. I mean, pretty insane. We've got more body mounts here. And just solid. Frame is solid. All the floors, the inside of the sills themselves and the frame rails of the body. I mean, these are the frame rails, but the actual like structure rails of the body itself. All solid. All around the back here. Pretty crazy. And what's crazy is on my 60, the brake master cylinder, which sits right underneath the pedal cluster, underneath the floor, which is a crazy place for it, is not rotted because this accumulates water. And my 60, this was all rot. There's a giant hole right here. The fact that I have two of these cars and have had one that has a lot of rot and I've been able to see where all those prone places are, then to see this car is pretty crazy as to how solid it really is. I mean, look at how wildly solid this sill is. And the bottom of the door. The one bad thing is just the back, where it got hit. The Thunderbird taillights. I mean, maybe someone would get lucky enough to find some 1000 SP taillights. And the rear leaf stack has snapped on the passenger side. This car has transverse leaf stacks front and rear for suspension. So even the front, even though it's front wheel drive, has a transverse leaf spring stack and the radiator mounts to the top of it. And the rear is the same. Since it's front wheel drive, it's just got a rear beam with a drum brake and spindle attached to it. Super simple. And then the leaf stack travels up and over transverse in the car. But this side over here has broken, which must be a common failure because the 1960 had a broken leaf stack in the back as well. So it must be a common thing that they just don't hold up well over time. But that's a quick look at the undercarriage. I already took a bunch of photos. We're going to bring it back down and I'll take some more detailed photos. There are some parts that I'm keeping for this car, and luckily there were a ton of duplicate parts that can still go with this car. All right, so what else is coming with this whole deal, which sweetens it a ton if you ask me, is the original chassis frame and drivetrain from my 1960 1000 SP. So this comes with the 62 1000 SP, and this is the best part of my 1960 as far as good condition stuff goes. The rear body mounts here, shock tower mounts, everything is rust free. all the cross bracing in the frame. It's really quite incredible how good a condition this thing is in. Radiator, motor, transmission, pedal cluster, steering assembly, shocks, everything's there. But I've had the motor covered, so it hasn't been rained on. This hasn't been run in a long time, and I've never heard it run, but it's all there. Gonna get the 1000 SP put back in my enclosed trailer, but hopefully it'll be sold soon, and my trailer will be ready at all times. Not gonna go through everything I've got, but there's a steering assembly. We have partial motor. We have fully dressed motor. We have totes, containers, level 2. We have generators. We have crankcases. We have so many starters. We have pressure plates, 1, 2, 3, 4 more motors that are missing crankcases, but I've got crankcases there. I mean, intake manifolds, carburetors, air boxes, a radiator, more fans. And third level is even more totes full of auto union parts. And the majority of all that stuff is going with that car. I'm only keeping a small handful of duplicate parts for this car. So crazy. And that transmission goes. Well, that's it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We leave the day after tomorrow for St. John, New Brunswick, Canada for the Complex Union Show roll call. So stay tuned for more content. I'm real excited to bring you guys along and show you my experience from this weekend in Canada. If I don't get a chance to see you there in person, I hope to see you here in the next episode.